Hello and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about hobbies for the soul and something that helps my life feel more complete and fulfilled. I hope this video will inspire you as well to review your hobbies or maybe start a new one. I will tell you the cost to start them as well as my rating on wholesomeness and ease. First hobby I have is organization and decluttering. Now, unfortunately, there will not be satisfying content coming when I declutter just loads and loads, bags and bags of stuff that is so satisfying to watch because nearly every corner of my place has already been organized or decluttered. But it is a really fun hobby to see something that causes so much chaos and disorganization turn into something that visually is so appealing and also is so easy to use. The way it continues to be my hobby is because not only do I organize my home a little bit every day and every week, but I also help others. Not necessarily that I'm forcing others to be organized, but if people come to me, I would gladly help organize their garage or their pantry or their makeup and vanity. It's a fun way to connect with people and also help them through their overwhelm. I would say this hobby basically costs $0 unless you're buying some organizational bins or totes, which could be, anywhere from $10 to $100. Wholesomeness of this activity is 10 out of 10. And ease, I would say 7 out of 10, because sometimes it's hard to declutter certain things, especially sentimental things, and sometimes it might be a little bit difficult to tackle heavier items or things with awkward shapes, but it's still a really fun hobby. The next one would be making friendship bracelets. I had a crafting class in my middle school, and that's where I learned how to use beads to create beautiful bracelets. Since those times, I only have this one bracelet that I still kept. I'm kind of afraid it's gonna fall apart, but I am keeping it forever as a good memory. But last year, I got gifted tickets to go see Taylor Swift in Miami Night 1, and part of going to the Eras Tour concert was making friendship bracelets with her songs or lyrics, and you can exchange them with others. At the time as I was preparing to go to the concert, I was going through a really dark and sad time of my life. My husband and I, we went to Hobby Lobby, bought a bunch of supplies, and I started making bracelets for fun, and I realized how incredibly therapeutic, relaxing, and fun it is, and also very satisfying to make these bracelets. And all of a sudden, it felt like healing my inner child, because all through middle school, I was making not these kinds of bracelets, but bracelets in general. So then I just kept making additional trips to Hobby Lobby again and again to purchase more beads, and I ended up with a lot of bracelets. Now, sometimes I make friendship bracelets for my friends. If they're going through something difficult, I would make one that says courage or thankful or you got this, and give it to them as a little reminder that they can wear and have positive thoughts. In order to start this hobby, it costs probably, $20 to just buy a few simple supplies. If you really want to go all out, I would say $50. Wholesomeness is 10 out of 10, and ease is also 10 out of 10. Sometimes I think, do people even have hobbies anymore? Because when we are children and teens, obviously we fill our days and schedules with school, extracurricular activities, as well as some hobbies. But when we enter into adulthood and then we realize that now we have to basically work 40 hours a week for the rest of our life, and at first it feels very depressing, it's very easy to kind of forget who you were and become a former shell of yourself. And it wasn't until later when I realized that such an important part of my life was missing. On this channel, I talk about minimalism, simple living, and I would say that hobbies definitely make life easier and better and more simple, and at the same time more fulfilling. The next hobby, kind of going along with the previous one, is just other crafts, and there's basically a million crafts you can pick up and try. My recent craft was embroidery. I purchased a lot of these kits that come with thread and pre-printed image that you can basically embroider over. Here is a finished product that I did last year, and then this one I'm working currently on, and these ones are going to be done over the next few months. It's also so relaxing to just be embroidering while I put my earphones in and listen to podcasts or audiobooks. I also get a lot of ideas and inspiration from doing so, and then the final result is so satisfying and beautiful to look at. It can be a decoration for my home also. My grandma, who lived in Soviet Union, was into embroidery as well, and unfortunately Unfortunately, a lot of her embroidery works did not survive, but I do have a couple that I'll show you. So for example, this one that is a cross stitch that she embroidered somewhere around 1940s, 1950s. So this embroidery is over 70 years old and I'm keeping it. It's very dear to my heart. And also hopefully my future kids and grandkids can see a little bit of my work that I created with my hands and think, yeah, grandma did that. That was really cool. In order to start a simple craft, it honestly requires maybe $5 to $7. Wholesomeness, I would say 10 out of 10. And ease can be anywhere from 5 out of 10 to 9 out of 10 because some patterns are really difficult and they don't always turn out as great as you think in the end. The next hobby would be photography. My mom bought me a really cheap camera back when I was 16, and that's how my photography journey started. I would basically just go everywhere around town taking photos of strangers, landscapes, and then eventually my friends started asking me to take their portraits. I've been doing photography basically on and off for many years, and at some points in my life when I needed extra money, this has been my side hustle. Right now I don't have too much time to do it professionally, so I use my camera to bless the lives of others. A lot of people do not have the opportunity to have professional picture taken of them, so for my friends and family, I like to take their photos so that they have something to remember. And since I started doing photography so long ago, I still have people reaching out to me from like 10-12 years ago saying, you know what, that picture that you took, it was so insignificant to me at the moment when it was taken, but years later when those people aren't even around, that photo is the only thing I have of them. In order to start photography as a hobby, a very simple used camera can be purchased for as cheap as $350. Obviously, more professional cameras would be several $1,000s, which took me years to get to that point where I was able to upgrade from a crop frame DSLR to a full frame DSLR to now a mirrorless camera. Wholesomeness of this hobby is 10 out of 10. It's always so fun to shoot and then edit the photos. And the ease, that one is actually a little bit harder to use. Now, if you're using auto settings, then ease is pretty much 10 out of 10. But if you want to learn manual settings, and then there's so many nuances to photography and videography because cameras now can also take videos, I would say ease would be 5 or 6 out of 10. Thankfully though, there's a million of tutorials on YouTube on how to make it easier. My next activity or hobby is paper making, which is such a random thing to do, but I watched TikToks of people basically making recycled paper and I wanted to try it. In order to start making recycled paper, you basically need a couple things. First, you need a blender, which I found used on Facebook Marketplace for $5. Then you need a paper shredder, or you need to cut used paper into smaller pieces. A paper shredder used on Facebook was also like $20. Then you need a nice big bowl of water, and then you need a frame that will make the papers. And that frame I could only find online, and that cost anywhere from $8 to $10. And the process goes as follows. You basically cut down your used paper into smaller pieces or shred them, then you put them into blender and blend it into pulp. Then you put that pulp into that bigger tear and use the frame to fill up and place a piece of paper on a sheet that it's gonna dry on. Then leave it overnight and you have a new recycled piece of paper. And of course, people sell things like this on Etsy, but I was just giving it as part of gifts to my friends. I would just wrap it up nicely. A couple of my friends actually said that it's so incredibly soft and satisfying to write on. Then they said, can I actually buy some from you? Are you gonna start selling it? And I said, no, this is just for fun. I'm not going to turn it into a side hustle and take all the fun out of doing this. I will just mail you some more, but this is not going to be a side hustle. Paper making costs can literally be as low as $30 to start, up to $50, just depending on what items you can source. Wholesomeness is 10 out of 10, especially when you can pick out dry sheets of paper off the sheet. Ease, I would say 7 out of 10, because sometimes my back got hurt and tired to constantly just kind of be in this position and like moving around. The next hobby I randomly picked up last year from visiting Hawaii was buying a ukulele. It is such a small, simple, and yet such beautiful instrument. Honestly changes the mood of my whole day. By no means am I perfect or I'm this great musician. I literally know 10 chords and I'm so terrible at it. But when I'm having a really bad day or when I'm sad, I try to stroke some chords and somehow magically my day goes from really sad to just uplifted and hopeful somehow. There's so many tutorials on YouTube on how to play it. To start this hobby, I purchased this instrument for a little over $100, and then all the lessons are on the app or on YouTube for free. Wholesomeness is 10 out of 10. Playing ukulele will always make my day better. And ease, I would say 8 out of 10. It's fairly easy to learn a few chords and stroke patterns, and there's so many tutorials. It just takes some time, but it is fairly easy, which is nice. Remember how I also made a video on how I'm doing extreme no-buy this year? So between my part-time job, my hobbies, and this YouTube channel, I feel like there's no time left to go shopping. My early to mid 20s, I was just work, home, and I completely forgot that hobbies exist. Additionally, we live in such a toxic culture of productivity that oftentimes people try so hard to even turn their hobbies that are for the soul, that are helping them feel happier, into side hustles. The next hobby I would like to briefly cover would be board games. Board games is such a fun way to spend an evening with your spouse, with your partner, significant other, or with a group of friends, because it gives you this nonchalant way to get to know others and use your intellect for some games, so it's really fun. A game that I see that has become so popular in my circle of friends has been Settlers of Catan. My husband gets so excited when he meets a new person and he asks them if they love to play Settlers of Catan and they say yes. That is like his new potential best friend. The cost of board games can range anywhere from $25 to $50 to $100, but if you want to just buy a basic one, probably anywhere between $20 to $40. Wholesomeness is always 10 out of 10 for me, but then again, it depends on who you're playing with. And ease, I would say, also 10 out of 10. Most board games have pretty easy rules. I also made a list of 50 hobbies. Pause the video, screenshot, and keep it for the future. Let me tell you something. If you feel completely dead from your corporate job, try getting a hobby. Now, this will not change your life completely and solve all of its problems, but it's a start. It's a start to get yourself out of a rut. I've been there so many times. It is not fun. It is quite dreadsome, and it feels like things are just not going to get better. Hobbies are good for mental health. Hobbies is just one of those small and simple components of life that make life flow better and smoother. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.